explosive plays in the running game, but then needing to be able to get some, I guess, important runs in certain situations. Were those more a result of guys just not being able to handle the person that they had to block, or was it more assignment-based?
Yeah, I think Coach is alluding to when you play like real football games like that come down to a play or two, those situational third downs or like to not get in long yardage. It's a multiple things. It could be, blitzing and got to be able to hold in there when it comes to meet a stalemate and win that battle, a one-on-one block, a leverage block, a call to get the front or like an ID situation. But it's not just a standard down. It's like we need this to, convert third downs, and that's what, the tell of the game was like, when you play a real game that's coming down to a possession or two when you watch all the college football, you got to be able to execute those critical situations, and whether it be, a third down, a run, a drop, a blocking, all that, we just got to be able to do a better job when it's needed.
Yeah, Coach, what do you see differently in the first half that, NC State did that they did in the second half where you guys struggled a little more to move the ball?
Well, I think, turnovers a little bit kind of counting that. We turned it over and we didn't convert the third downs. But as far as what they did on defensively, they presented a different look. They kind of started playing a little bit more base line coverage, so we couldn't dictate it a little bit, which kind of, caught us a couple of times. But other than that, it was just more coming down to the execution in needed situations,
Getting Robert Scott back in the lineup, it seemed from outside looking in that was pretty impactful for you guys. I guess what did having him involved for the entire game do for you in the run game?
Yeah, Robert showed his toughness. He was limited throughout the week, and it was still a questionable decision. But once he made his mind up to go, he went. And there was a couple of times, you could see it, what he was kind of going through. But his toughness shows, and he's, even last year he had to go through a little bit of something like this. But what's good is that he didn't have any setbacks, so he was able to come out pretty clean, which moving forward means he can get better moving forward. So, Rob's a tough kid.
When you have those situations where the key plays, the big moments, do you get to a point as a coaching staff where these are guys I can rely on, or does the offense just have to be the offense?
No, absolutely. There's certain guys that showcase that reliability that you're going to go to. It becomes, players and not plays, and that's what it has to be. But, and those guys want those moments. But it's just learned behavior right now, and as I'm watching this cycle kind of go through since I've been here, it's first is, can you even win a game? Then is, can you win close games? Now it's becoming, can you win close, can you beat good teams when it's coming down? So it's that continued progress of learned behavior as we're going through, and it's some hard lessons to learn. But just like I'm pretty sure Coach said, when you come in here and you look at the players on Sunday and you can, see in their eyes the correction, like, okay, let's not allow this to happen again, which gives us confidence.
Coach Norvell said that NC State in the second half did some bluffing with pre-play checks for laymen like us. Like, what exactly does that mean, and how did that complicate things for you guys?
The same thing I tell, like when I talked about line coverage, I think line up where you can't tell depth of safeties or corners. And then right before the snap, get into whatever it was going to be before you can check it again, also using the clock. So you got to kind of rely on just basically the instinct of, like I talked about last week, like reaction, because we're not giving that pre-look that we had planned to that look. When that does cause problems, and I thought even toward the last half and when that last drive, I started to see the eyes kind of started to pick it up a little bit and do a better job. But a lot of it, like we had a play call and Rob was down blocking the 4. We had a counter call and he gave up a little bit too much penetration that would have been good. So, I give credit to those looks, but I also say like the critical situations, being able to win that one-on-one matchup in that moment that you've won before paper throughout the game, but then when it came down to it, did you win it when it counted, and so that caused some structural problems when you're able to change the coverage right before it. But I thought we adjusted to it fairly well, but then it seems like you adjusted, but you still don't have the success because you might have lost a block. So it all kind of encompassed together.
Yeah, after Jordan threw those 2 picks, he was a little emotional on the sidelines. What do you have to say to him to, reel him back in, or is there much need to be said to him?
Yeah, Jordan is not really overly emotional. Sometimes you got to save him from himself from just beating himself up. He takes ownership in person, like he takes it like it's on me, and we got to do a good job of understanding it's all of us, and we could have put you in a better situation. We could have put you in a better read. We could have done so much to prevent it. It's not just you out there going to make a mistake. You know, mistakes are going to happen. Just like I talked about Rob, the down block. You know, I'm pretty sure he had every intention to do it right, but it didn't happen in that moment. So I'm pretty sure Jordan would go out there and say, you know what, on this play, I'm going to go ahead and try to make some adversity for us. You know, that wasn't his plan. So just not to beat himself up and just move on, have that one-play mentality.
Can you walk us through the final play, I guess, with the interception with Jordan and the slot wide receiver? Is the way the DB plays that, does the receiver have different options on that pattern? Or I guess what's supposed to happen
So
there?
Micah was running the fade route from inside slot position, and the guy looked like he was head up a gate, like we knew it was. It wasn't like a check two play. It was already in the route, and the guy jumped out outside on him late. And when Micah tried to release outside late, Jordan had already saw pre-snap that the guy was inside, so he was going to it already. So the guy it was a great play by him. There's nothing taken away from him because he showed, got out of it, went outside leverage, and made a hell of a play, man. So, you know, shout out to him.
You guys played against good defensive lines this year. Saw one just a few days ago. But when you look at what Clemson has, and maybe they got Xavier Thomas back, and I think there's a chance they may have another guy back. What do those experiences against LSU and NC State kind of do to help prepare you for this game?
Yeah, just, and we see them every day. When we saw them in practice too, with Fabian and Coop and Verse. We've had some good work against good D linemen. It's just a real ball game. It's where you come to play big boy football at. So not to discredit any other D lineman that we play, but it's a real ball game. And to win real ball games, you got to block really good defensive line. And so the challenge will be accepted, and let's go practice and make sure we adequately can block it.
How did Darius do when he went in there guard, and then Emmanuel came back in later? Just kind of what were you guys doing?
I had it pre-planned to make sure he got in there. It was already set. They were going to have some kind of rotational period. They knew that, so wanted to get Darius working there because he was healthier, and I wanted him to get some guard work because, like you say, he can play all 5 positions. And so I wanted to make sure we got him in, and also with just his speed and athleticism with him playing 3 down front, I thought he'd do a good job of getting to those backers, reaching and things like that. I thought that could display some of his strength in his game too. So I wanted to make sure we got him in there to, kind of spell a guy too.
Losing Trayshawn Ward for the game, I guess how impactful was that, given everything that he does as a running back? And then we saw Ja'Kai Douglas on the depth chart this week. If you guys do get him back whenever that time comes, what can he do for you offensively?
Yeah, I mean, Trey's a ball player, toughness. The way he ran, and he had some good runs. But even the one he went down on, that was a great run. So, having him in there always helps because he also is the leadership in that room, that steady Eddie. So, hopefully he heals up and we get him back pretty quickly. With Ja'Kai, Ja'Kai tried to jump in there a couple of times in practice last week. We had to kind of protect him from himself. But no, man, we're going to go through the process and, give him day to day, and hopefully we can use him. But, as of now, we're still trying to work through his progress to see if he will be available. But if he does, it helps us because Ja'Kai is also a multiple guy. He can play receiver. He's played receiver and caught big balls in big games. He's also played running back and had some good runs and good games. So he's definitely a weapon for us if he's healthy.
2 of the guys that we in the media and fans and everybody have praised for their toughness are Dylan and Micah at their positions. But then when they have penalties at the end of plays, like how do you balance that, their physicality and appreciating that, but then also making sure they don't get penalties? Yeah,
you play right up to that line, and there's an edge, and there's a line you got to get to, and those 2 are veteran players, and they both took ownership in the moment. They knew they went like right over that edge, and you don't want to take that away from them because that's why they're in the position where they are, where they fight in toughness and it's a mentality. But you also got to make sure they understand like there's a line we got to get to it that we can't get to. So it was not purposely done. They both showed immediate remorse and like I took it there. So just correction and trusting that it'd be corrected. But you got to let them be them, but you also got to understand what hurts the team. And neither one of them were like overly selfish. It was just I went right a half step over that line that I needed to go.
The receivers have been playing so well really all year, and they made some plays in that game, but there were some critical drops that cost you guys points, first downs. I guess just the confidence level in them and just thinking, okay, that's a one-game abnormality. Go back to being who you are because you're obviously going to need them the rest of the year to keep making those kind of plays.
No question, and no trust is lost at all. You know, it's complete trust in them, and it is still maintained. Like we still want them in critical situations. And just like you talked about on Sunday, nobody knew it more than them about what they had to do, and like we talked about, learned behavior, because this is a group that's been together like one time, and that's the first time it's been like that in the game. So it's the now what mentality. So we went through that. Are we gonna learn it? I would love to learn it with a win, but whether win or lose, you still have to learn that lesson. You know, whether we made the play at the end or not. So what now? You know, where is the response level of we did that, we didn't have the success we wanted. So who are we really? And that character show up. So moving forward, it's a unique challenge. And I think, you know, I think I know they'll answer it because I've been with them here these last 2 days, and I was there practice Sunday. So, you know, I'm looking forward to them taking ownership and moving forward in a positive way.
Seemed like last year or earlier in his career, Maurice, sometimes if a team lined up a nose guard right over him, sometimes it might have caused him some issues. It seemed like he's had that and handled it better, and particularly I thought on Saturday it seemed like he handled it pretty well.
Yeah, a lot of that come from Mo had to do a lot. You know, it wasn't because when last year I think he played like 268. You know, he was a smaller guy, but you know he had to do some things in the offseason that wasn't just there was a reason why he couldn't hold the weight. So we were able to get with the doctors and get all that figured out, and he's been able to maintain the weight. And he's also a veteran. I mean, Mo was here before I got here. You know, he played. You know, so he's played a lot of football and been around it for a while. So as his confidence is building, as he's starting to get his body in shape to go play and the size he needs to be able to go hold up against those nose guards, he's doing a better job. You know, and Mo still got football in front of him. You know, so he's a guy that was here before I got here. He's still going to be here next year with me. So, like, he's a guy that, I mean, he's going to continue to get better, and we saw that natural progression of him being able to come hold his own, and I like where he's going. And also with Caden Lyles, you know, coming in, bringing him competition in the offseason. You know, and he'll admit to you, know, that changed his focus level, because I got a lot of respect for Maurice because we brought in an older guy, a veteran guy, to come challenge him, and he didn't bat an eye in his day in college football. He said, you know, let's bring it. And he used it as an opportunity to get his mental part of the game a lot better. So now he's making a lot more calls, and he's starting to see the IDs and the fronts, and his confidence is through the roof. So now Mo's doing a good job for us.
Coach, you guys spend all week putting in a game plan. The first half, it works so well offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a tendency to want to stick with what's been working, and how much of it is still doing what you're doing and having that be successful, but also factoring in that they're going to make adjustments and then being able to kind of pivot to other ideas that you guys want to be able to run?
Yeah, Coach came out, you know, in the second half, and we had a couple of formations we hadn't got in, and we kind of got into them. And like you said, it can be one in a critical situation, whether it be one block to kind of take your mind off of it, like, oh, we had it, but we didn't execute the block, and we might have had what we was looking for coming out the second half, but we didn't execute it properly. And then, you know, the situation changes of, okay, are we down? Are we up? Do we got to press? Do we got to throw a little bit more? So I think we have to do a better job of having that second half plan. You know, that's on us to make sure we can go out and execute the high level we need to. But you always want to go back to what's working to make sure it's working, and make sure it stopped working before you just stop doing it. You don't want to outcoach yourself either, where something was working, you just go completely away from it because you're assuming that they're going to stop it. You know, so there's a little bit of balance in that between what's working, what we know we got to adjust, and adjusting to the adjustment. You know, in that process, you know, we got to continue to get better at that.
Thanks, Coach.
No problem.